Welcome back, everyone, to LBS Responds To episode number 89. So yes, welcome back everyone to another episode of the weekly Q&A series I do here on my channel. I like to take all of your guys' questions, usually about 15 or 20 of them, and I make them into a video like this. I answer anything from Lego related questions to Star Wars related questions, and pretty much anything in between. There's really nothing off limits here, and yeah guys, so without further ado, let's get into the first one. This was a very nice week of questions, I got to admit. It was very hard for me to just narrow it down to 15, so if your question is not answered in today's video, be sure to leave it down below. More than likely it'll get answered next week, so let's get into the first one, guys. So starting off with Moa, they say, do you think LEGO should come out with the Clone Commander Battle Pack? 20 bucks for 4 Clone Commanders would be amazing. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks. So thank you for the question. And my initial reaction to that is I never want that personally. I think, you know, what a Battle Pack truly should be is a army builder. I mean, they used to literally put that back on the boxes back in 2007, 2008. And I think, you know, 20 bucks for 4 Clone Commanders, as much as it would be an amazing deal, it's also kind of bad even for LEGO's logistics. You know what I'm saying? Because then at that point, really only everyone has to buy only one of those. You know, sure, there's going to be a few people, say, investing in them, you know, if they get them on sale for 16 bucks, 12 bucks, you know, of course there's gonna be a lot of people buying multiple at that point for long term, but the initial purchase amount for pretty much everyone would just be one of them. So unlike compared to say if they were to make a $20 battle pack with 4 unnamed clones, you know, there's a lot of us, including myself, probably even you, that would go out there and buy 2, 3, or 4 of them on day one compared to just one of them, and then never buy another one. So I personally wouldn't like that. I think I like what they're doing, where I would much rather have clone commanders and captains in expensive sets, because again, at the end of the day, you know, look, I mean, as much as, you know, Commander Cody might be a $20, $30, $40 minifigure forever, it's also like, come on, like if you really like Commander Cody, you're gonna buy that ATT and just have that entire set anyway, so then you get him included pretty much. So you're never really gonna have to worry about Clone Commander values, I feel. So that's why I feel like getting one down, you know, to only say $5 a clone in a battle pack really would not be too worth it, and I personally never want that. I want them to remain just an army builder. So yeah, there's that. So next up, we have Sudden Brick Productions. He says, ask LBS, what is your most valuable Jedi minifigure? So in case you guys did not know, I do have this minifigure here. I keep him behind me now ever since I kind of pulled him out of my little bin. But yeah, I've got the black hair Kanan actually. So I'll try to put a picture up on the screen, you know, if you guys can't see this too well, you know, in editing. But yeah, so this guy right here, worth roughly $200 in used condition. Of course, I've kept mine very nice over the years. But yeah, very, very rare. New condition ones, a little bit up in the air on the price. I mean, there's some people asking $600, $700 for them. But I put any black hair Kanan at probably about a $250 to $300 valuation. So that's definitely my most expensive at the moment. So we also have Sudden Brick Productions. He has another question, and actually a lot of you guys did after that little fake Lego discussion last week. He says, what is your opinion on CAC compatibles? Do you value them above other fakes? So yes, I do, of course. CAC, in my opinion, is basically the next best thing besides official Lego. So, you know, for many reasons, and it's not just Colorami Customs either. It's, you know, Brick Arms, Eclipse Graphics, Citizen Brick, and here's basically a few reasons why I believe they are, you know, better than fakes. First off, again, most of those guys, you know, 95% of these companies print on official Lego parts to begin with, so it's already, you know, basically official. Second off, you know, a lot of these people use, you know, in-house, you know, USA-made injection molding for their helmets. Very few companies these days use outsource or fakes. You know, other than that, you know, a few people do disclose that they use fakes, which even then, a couple of these fake helmets, you know, if you get them from the right places, really aren't the worst quality to begin with. And again, it's, you know, sourced from decent sources, you know, at least. And then next up is, you know, these people have been around for 10 or 12 years. Of course, they are USA based. You know, CAC is literally only a state away from me. I've met the owner, you know, Tyler, a whole bunch, and it's just a lot more trustworthy, I feel. They really take a lot of value into their customs. You know, they care about the products they're making, you know, the environment they're made in too. Just overall a lot better. You know, you can just fully kind of trust what they're made with, how they're made, and in my opinion, again, they don't really take designs from other people either. You know, unlike, you know, as much as, you know, fake, you know, Lego is kind of gross in my opinion to begin with, it's also just the fact of supporting a company, you know, a Chinese company or a different country company that just, you know, steals designs from mock builders or other companies without actually giving them any credit. So there's a lot of reasons why, you know, say Lepin and like fake Lego in general from like say China is just strictly worse, I feel, than anything like CAC. I personally really do support CAC. I used to buy them a whole bunch, and I still would. It's just kind of my money's being put elsewhere, but I've got a very big CAC collection. I'm looking at my case over there, and what's that, 8 times 4? I've got at least 32 CAC figures, and I used to do a lot of videos on them. So any of these USA-made companies, especially like Brick Tactical, if you guys know him, ClincherBrex39, everything he does is literally within his own house. You know, all of his molding, all of his printing. So very, very cool on his end. And yeah, there's the answer to that. So next up we have Armatrix right here. They say, what are your thoughts about the rumored LEGO subscription service that allows people to buy retired sets? Do you think this will affect the secondary market at all? So initially on that, when I first read that, I kind of thought about that. I'm like, damn, that's something I have not heard about in like a year now. I think they did a survey, I want to say beginning of 2021, but it might have been 2022 even, where they were pretty much asking us, what do we want that service to be? And, I quite frankly don't remember too many of the answers, but it was really heavily rumored there for a while that they would open up their entire backlog of sets, for sale, whether it was going to be original retail price, say, adjusted market inflation these days, or aftermarket prices. It was really never disclosed, but in my opinion, of course, I would love that to be able to be, look, I can go buy a 1999 Star Wars set for original retail price. It's just the fact of the matter that's impossible, I feel. Again, like, unless they really start doing some crazy stuff, because, the older molds of some parts, the older colors, dark gray, light gray, sand red, some of those older colors aren't even made anymore and have not been made for 15 years, where it's just factually impossible in that regard unless they start doing a lot more crazy stuff and putting a lot more money into it. But I feel like really what it is, I think one of two ways here. It will either be just truthfully stuff that they just have backlogged up, and just stuff that they did not sell that they really don't want to kind of admit they didn't sell and say they've been sitting on for a few years. Like literally some of these sets that are 30, 40, 50% off on lego.com, they will put those back up for sale, say, for a little bit. Or it could be potentially something, maybe anything within maybe the past 5 years. Really the only way I see this really affecting the, say, secondary market at all is if it's like really serious. You get what I'm saying? Like if it's like anything from the past 20 years, if it's everything including like UCS Imperial shuttles, because I believe every part out of there is made. If it's stuff like that, that'll be pretty bad. But if it's only stuff, say, in the past couple of years, in my opinion, that'd actually be pretty good, because say for some of the more serious Lego investors, it will kind of whittle out some of those people that just want the quick flip. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm perfectly fine with sitting on a set for an extra 3 or 4 years if it means afterwards the market's going to be a lot smaller, because a lot of those guys that did not want to wait those extra years kind of got out of the investing game. So in my opinion, I've not really heard anything about it for like the past year, so it might not ever even come into fruition, but we'll have to kind of see, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated. If something serious goes on about it, I'll make a whole separate video, but good question, man. So next up, we have Jamie Dodger. He says, ask LBS, I want to pick up a shock trooper, one of the ones from the Coruscant Police Gunship, or should I wait for LEGO to make new ones since they're very expensive? So, yeah, my quick answer to that is definitely wait. I feel like LEGO has to make a shock trooper at some point. And, if they never do, then that's just straight up stupidity, I feel like, on LEGO's end. So, I would personally wait. I can't justify paying, 50, 60, 80, 100 bucks for a clone trooper either. Quite frankly, I think that's absolutely insane, especially for something that you want to army build. So, I would wait on that. Then you also ask, and are all those Thrawn sets behind you sealed? And if so, when will you sell them? So, yeah, the quick story on that, again, some of you guys know, I got 4 of them up here, and I got 2 of them actually on a shelf over there as well. So I've got 6 of these sealed still. They are the Phantom 2 set right here. So I initially bought, like, I think 14 of these. I'll throw up the picture, and this was back last year. I believe like March of 2021, Amazon had them for $90, prime shipping, so $90 free shipping. And, at that time they were going for like $120, $130. And so I bought them. I sold a few. I sold like 4 or 5 for like a quick 40 bucks each. And then I held on to a few. I bought one to Brick World. I sold one right before Brick World, this year. And I got like 300 bucks for the one, like 275 for the other. Like, it's pretty crazy, like, quite frankly, like how good of a little buy these were. And I'm holding on to 6 of them right now, mainly just to kind of see what they do. And I'll probably always keep a couple of them, of course. I've got my Thrawn minifigure built, but yeah, I don't regret it at all. So I plan on selling a few more eventually. Probably sell 2 or 3 more before the new Thrawn comes out, probably before the Ahsoka series. And bottom line, I'll probably keep 2 or 3 permanently sealed forever. So yeah, thanks for the questions, man. So next up, we have His Last Ace with a very good question. Hey, LifeBricks, I'm curious on your opinion. Do you think LEGO would ever revisit the older Clone Wars sets again, like 2008 through 2015, perhaps like the Clone Wars Phase 1 troopers, for example, and sets from the earlier seasons of the Clone Wars? Thank you. So thanks for the question. And yeah, this is a topic that I feel like is not discussed a whole bunch, because how I see them doing it is, of course, I think they will remake those sets at some point. We will see stuff like, T6 Jedi shuttles, Republic frigates, turbo tanks, ATTEs. I wouldn't even doubt probably eventually we might even see another pirate tank eventually. Like, I don't doubt that for a second, but the biggest thing to take home from that is I do not think we will ever see animated Clone Wars faces ever again. Unless they do strictly like a, Clone Wars 20th anniversary, like, one-off set or something, because I don't think they're ever going to do a whole bunch of it. I think, they kind of made it, knowledgeable that you know, throughout like say 2015 through now, you know, all the Clone Wars sets they come out with, you know, they are actually making them, you know, live action faces. They're not doing the animated faces anymore. So in my opinion, I never had a problem with that. And I feel like that just adds a, you know, extra level of specialness to them. And I feel like, so there's the answer to that. I feel, you know, I feel like we will get the sets eventually. But, you know, say if we get another pirate tank, you know, the Hondo Inaka that set will have an entirely different, you know, style. It will be, you know, not animated. It will be, you know, live action. So there's my answer to that. Very good question. And in my opinion, that's kind of what makes those older sets even more special, in my opinion, because we will never truly see a one-to-one remake ever again. So speaking of Clone Wars, we actually got CT Productions right here. What is your all-time favorite LEGO Clone Trooper ever made and why? Mine is definitely the regular P1 Clone Wars clone, purely because of nostalgia. So yeah, my answer to that is the exact same as yours. I think you know, the original Clone Wars clones are just something very special, and not even strictly you know, due to nostalgia. I really just genuinely feel like that's a solid clone trooper. I think it's the most accurate looking regular clone trooper they've ever made. You know, of course, all the Phase 2 clones, they've been a little up in the air. You know, even 2014, you know, they were a little bit, you know, is it completely right? They looked really good for Lego form, but I really feel like the Clone Wars Phase 1 clones just genuinely look like they were taken right off the screen into Lego form. And if we're talking about maybe a clone captain or commander, maybe a more special clone, Phase 1 Captain Rex is my favorite clone in that regard. But yeah, very good answer yourself. I definitely agree with you. So next up, we have Sith Studs, and they say, ask LBS, what is one set you invested in and regretted it soon after? Also, I live in Australia and haven't died yet. It's pretty safe. So yeah, awesome that you live in Australia. I want to visit there pretty soon. But yeah, one set that I regret investing in, I will kind of go maybe Star Wars and non-Star Wars right here. I would say non-Star Wars, the most important one is probably that Wonder Woman 1984 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive to Walmart. And that one right there, as you guys probably know, it might even still be up for sale on Walmart.com. I don't even know anymore because that set retailed for I think $40, right? And you know, most San Diego Comic-Con exclusive sets go up in value. Of course, in 2020, you know, with no Comic-Con, they just shared them with different retailers, you know, Target, Walmart, etc. And the Wonder Woman one, you know, I bought one off the bat, you know, just because. And you know, I think, you know, then a month later too, they were still on there. I bought another one, and then like 3 or 4 months later, they went down like 20% off. I bought another one or two. Then they eventually went off to like 30% off. I bought another one or two. So I'm actually sitting on like, I think 8 of them up there. I think like 8 or 9 of them up there. You know, I paid roughly probably a $30 average on them. And those things right there are probably going to be the worst investment I ever make. You know, say I spent, you know, maybe $250 on them total. They're genuinely probably only worth like $200 right now. And that's even like a year after I bought my last one because, like I said, I quite frankly still think they're sitting on Walmart.com right now. And looking back, it's just one of those things. I can't believe, you know, I kept on buying, you know, 8 of those, and, you know, I did not buy 8 of the Black Widow ones, or, you know, I actually have 6 of the Nebulons, so that's always cool. You guys see 3 here, and I got another 3 up there, but, yeah, that's definitely the most regrettable non-Star Wars purchase. Then I would say for Star Wars, I mean, the recent history, probably being those Mandalorian brickheads. Again, it was one of those things, again, you know, where they came out, they go on a good sale, you kind of think like, hey, look, it might be a one-off sale, but now they've been out for like 3 years now. You know, they're sitting on Amazon half the time for like $12, you know, $20 retail set. So, again, luckily I've got, I think, what, 7 or 8 of them right there. You know, not the most capital tied up, you know, $70 or so, but long term, those things will probably do nothing for a very long time. And other than that, I'd say mainly just an overarching answer would be, when I started investing about 2 or 3 years ago in Lego, I was really buying maybe a little too much of the hype back then, and not really, you know, thinking about my purchases. You know, I'm sitting on a whole bunch of the 6 wide speed champions, and I was really just buying, I feel like, too many of those, where I probably should have just, you know, strategically put my money elsewhere. So nowadays, I'm definitely kind of thinking about the long haul a little bit more, trying to find kind of the more obscure sets, and kind of, you know, just trying to, you know, think about it a little bit more, where, you know, there's quite a few things over on my investing shelf where I'm like, look, I maybe shouldn't have bought this much of this guy. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I've got a few Lego investment regrets, but also a few really good ones. So thanks for the question, man. So next up, we have Neo After 021. He says, hi, man, absolutely love your channel and videos. Had a look at your Bricklink store and was wondering if you would ever ship internationally in the future to the UK. So, yes, I was, you know, shipping internationally for a while there. I started my Bricklink store back in 2014. Indie Brick, then go check it out if you guys want. I'm running a 20% off sale right now, and I got quite a few things over there. But, yeah, so shipping internationally was always kind of a thing where when I was first starting, when I was super young, I didn't truly understand it. Of course, it was very expensive from the get-go. I was not using sites like, say, Pirate Ship or ShipStation. I was literally just taking everything to the post office, shipping it from there. So, the prices were literally like 25, 30 bucks for any sort of package. So after a while, I kind of stopped it. I'm like, this isn't worth it. A lot of kind of worry, mainly just for the fact that, say it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get delivered. It's a lot of kind of just worry, what's going on with that package during that time. So I've not done it for a few years now. I got to be honest, it's probably been maybe 3 or 4 years since I last shipped an international package that wasn't just to a friend. But there's one caveat that if it ever happens to me, then I will start shipping to internationally. I'm not going to say what that is because I don't want to jinx myself. I'm going to knock on wood right here, hoping that it does not happen. But pretty much there's one thing in particular that once it happens to me, or should I say my store, I will open up everything to international and kind of go from there. So I'm going to be honest, I'm hoping never. I'm hoping kind of never, but if anything, it'll probably be bound to happen within the next year or two. So thanks for the question, man. And for everyone in the USA, Indie Brick Den, everything ships out same day or next. I'm running a 20% off sale. And yeah, actually, if you guys want to place a Bricklink order, if you guys are watching right now in the USA, use code, put Black Hair Canaan in the order notes, and I'll refund your shipping. So yeah, thanks for the question. So next up, we have Keith Crane with a very, very good question right here. One that honestly made me think a lot, and I gotta be honest, probably one of the better questions I've ever had here, since I don't think I've ever answered this really at all. He says, hypothetical question, if LEGO never had attained the LEGO Star Wars license and never made a single Star Wars set, would you have still been a fan of LEGO as a child, and would you still be one as an adult? So yeah, very good question there. Yeah, so my quick story about how I started getting into LEGO was actually before I got into Star Wars. So it was actually my brother's old collection. He had a big bin of, LEGO that he used to have. He is 33 now, so he grew up in kind of the early 2000s, the late 90s. He had a whole bunch of the pirate stuff, whole bunch of city stuff, whole bunch of the original adventure stuff. So yeah, so basically I got into that. I would always play with this little bin, and then I got into Star Wars. My mom and her side of the family are big Star Wars fans. They kind of got me into the Star Wars movies, and I got into LEGO and Star Wars both in about 2007, early 2008. And then of course, once I started really enjoying my brother's LEGO collection, like my parents saw that for a long time, then I kind of got into LEGO Star Wars. I started watching LEGO YouTube. Again, I remember the days Nitro99 on YouTube, of course David back in the day, Michael MGF, Ross, and I was watching LEGO YouTube back then, and then it really all kind of spiraled into the fact like, hey, look, like, best of both worlds. I'm a big Star Wars guy now. Clone Wars is coming out back then. Of course, I was watching all that I think it initially started, every Sunday morning, or was it Friday night? I think it switched off, throughout the lifespan of the series. But yeah, I would still be a LEGO fan, even if, LEGO Star Wars never made. I probably would have not bought too much. I quite frankly maybe would have stopped sooner. Maybe not as an adult. There's definitely a few things I like, though. Back in the day, I still like Fantasy Era Castle, some of the Power Miner stuff, but I really feel like maybe that strong connection of being a LEGO Star Wars YouTuber and being a LEGO collector as an adult right now might have died off throughout the years. So a very good question there. I don't think I've ever answered that, but yeah, I was actually a LEGO fan before a Star Wars fan. So just so you guys all know. So next up, we have Raven Brick. So he says, do you have any advice for an aspiring LEGO YouTuber? I really want to get into it because it looks amazing, but I'm not too sure how to start. So I'll be the first one to say, look, I'm not the most successful when it comes to, say, numbers, money, subscribers, views. I'm definitely not the most successful. This is definitely the most successful I've ever been throughout the 9 years I've done it right now. And I feel like, part of that reason, not to make any excuses, but of course I was very young back then. I started this channel when I was only 11 years old, and, pretty much 11 all the way through the end of high school. I was more worried about school, kind of. I was very young to begin with, didn't really understand too much stuff compared to now, and I'm having a really good run at the moment. And really, I feel like what that stems from is I would feel like my most successful attribute is I've never been different than who I am. I've never changed for the camera. I've never, faked what I enjoy. I've never done stuff I don't like. All the content I make, I like talking about this type of stuff. Again, I don't really claim to have the best content out there, but at least I'm staying true to myself. So my recommendation for you is when you're first starting off, I much recommend, again, making videos that you enjoy yourself. So first off, you don't get burnt out, because it's going to be a slow burn at the start. And then truly, for the fact of all the people that do sub to you and all the people that do watch your videos, they see the true, the true you to begin with, and they get to know you personally. Don't change your personality for camera. I recommend make content that you enjoy making, because I feel like overall, again, even though say I'm only at 25,000 subs, which is a big number, but again, when I'm looking at the fact, say I've been doing this for 9 years, kind of off and on, I would much rather have my sub count now and the viewership I have now with people that actually enjoy me as a person, rather than me faking it for for the camera and say have double my numbers right now. That's just my opinion. I really do enjoy just being able to kind of do what I actually like, not get burnt out too easily. And that's my biggest recommendation. Then kind of go from there. Once you get 1,000 subs, a couple thousand subs, maybe pivot a little bit. See what was doing good for you at the start. Where are your best videos at? What content should you maybe push a little bit more? And there's my recommendation. Again, I'm not a professional, but my biggest thing is, again, for your own sake, stay true to yourself. So yeah, there's the answer to that, man. Thank you. So next up, we have Sith Studs right here. He says, ask LBS, do you play any video games? And if so, what games? Me personally, I love God of War. So I've not played that yet. I heard it was a really good game. My top 3 video games of all time, though, are Left 4 Dead 2, Modern Warfare 3, and then Pokemon Platinum on the DS. So my quick little explanation as to why those are my top 3 is because, as to why those are my favorite games. Pokemon Platinum, first off, is I think it's the best Generation 4 Pokemon game. That is the generation I grew up on. I got a DS and Pokemon Diamond back in 2007 for my birthday. And Pokemon Platinum is the best I feel out of those games. The Pokedex is expanded, and I've quite frankly probably played that game, I wouldn't doubt 40 times all the way through by now. The last couple years, I've only played it maybe once or twice a year, but the early 2010s, I would play Pokemon Platinum. I'm serious when I say probably 4 or 5 times through every single year with a whole bunch of different teams. Infernape is my favorite Pokemon. And yeah, Pokemon Platinum is definitely the best, but like Soul Silver and Heart Gold are a close second. And then moving on to the other 2, Modern Warfare 3, in my opinion, the best Call of Duty. Again, it was the first Call of Duty I really got into back in 2011 when my parents got divorced. My mom, of course, I started living with her more, and she got me an Xbox 360 for the house that year, and it was the Modern Warfare 3 edition, so I played MW3. And let me just tell you guys, again, I'm on my original account, which I'll just be frank with you, that account kind of got dismissed when my mom passed away. It was underneath her email, and you guys know Microsoft. I've not been able to log back in since, but on that original account, I had like 77 hours of MW3 played in the past, at that time, like 9 years or so, which is absolutely crazy, I feel. Then Left 4 Dead 2, another classic game. My brother got me into it back then. He was playing Left 4 Dead 1. He went to the midnight release of Left 4 Dead 1, and of course, I was only like 7 at the time, and I was playing it a little bit. I really did enjoy it. And then moving into Left 4 Dead 2, again, I started playing that a whole bunch, and not to be like, tooting my own horn, but I was very, very good at both those games. That's why I continue to play them, of course. If I sucked, I would have stopped playing, but a lot of great memories, a lot of good times, a lot of good people I met, and there's my top 3 games right there. So another kind of nostalgic question right here. We got Collector Empire _Cam. He says, what is one cartoon show that made your childhood non-Star Wars related? So that is easily What's New Scooby-Doo. That was my #1 cartoon back in the day. I absolutely loved that. My favorite Scooby-Doo iteration. I'm a big Scooby-Doo guy to begin with. I saw all the movies from back then. I think some of the new generational Scooby-Doo stuff is not as good, but pretty much anything from the original, like say, what was that, like 30 years, I guess, all the way up until the end of Mr. Incorporated. All the shows and all those movies are fantastic, a huge part of my childhood, and that was definitely probably that one right there. I was a close second to that, but I really only ever watched one generation of it, of course, was the Diamond and Pearl, and pretty much all the Generation 4 Pokemon anime, if you want to kind of consider that a cartoon. That would be on every single morning for a while there. Before I went to school, it would be on at like 7 o'clock, like 7 to 7:30. I would go to school at like 7:45, so it was absolutely perfect. Those were probably the 2 that, and also the Pokemon movies too, a lot of the Pokemon movies. Both those cartoons right there growing up, big part of my childhood. So yeah, there's that. Then actually moving on to Bricks Assemble, another kind of nostalgic question right here, actually going back to kind of the video game days. He says, what's the story behind your channel name? So I can basically credit this entire channel name to my brother. So again, back in 2007-ish, he had an Xbox 360, he's 13 years older than me, or I guess 12 years older than me, and his original gamer tag, which was just kind of stock off the Xbox, they kind of just gave it to him, was LifeRuiner708. So then, of course, when I got my Xbox in 2011, my first gamer tag was LifeRuiner709. I'm like, look, I liked my brother's gamer tag. People kind of knew me as that. I was playing on his Xbox all the time when he was at work. So my first gamer tag was LifeRunner709. Then jump forward 2 years later, 2013, I made my YouTube channel. My original YouTube channel name, if you guys remember, I had like a couple hundred subs back in the day at that point, was LifeRunner709. But for the channel's sake, of course, back then, it was more so, people were using, letters as numbers. It was kind of just more so like the thing back then. Younger people were, my age when I was 10 years old, 12 years years old. It was actually L1F3 RU1NER 709. It was like Life Printer 709, but the letters were numbers. And yeah, so that was my channel name for a couple years there. Then I eventually changed it over to LifeBricks Studios, but the same thing, L1F3 Brick Studios. And then actually all the way up until genuinely, I think it was last year, I was literally L1F3 Bricks for that long, and then I eventually changed it over to just regular LifeBricks Studios, and then eventually I just shortened it down just to regular LifeBricks. So quite frankly, if it were never for Xbox giving my brother that gamer tag, I would have never been LifeBricks. I don't know what else I would have been, but that's kind of where I'll stem from. My kind of OG gamer tag on my brother's account and also on my account. So yeah, there's the story behind that, man. All right, guys, so that's actually all the questions for today. That was a very long video. I had a couple interruptions there where I think the overall film length of this video is probably 40 minutes. Definitely a lot of editing to do, but yeah, a lot of good questions there, guys. A lot of good Lego ones, and also a lot of good kind of nostalgic ones. I do like answering those. If you guys are curious about anything in my personal life, whether it's childhood stuff or just kind of stuff I do in my regular day-to-day life, definitely don't hesitate to ask those questions either. This series is pretty much open to anything. Like, there's literally only two things I can ever think of that I will just bluntly never answer. So if it's not one of those two things, I'll probably answer it. So yeah, if your question was unanswered in today's video, be sure to leave it down below for next week. These videos come out every single Thursday. This one is coming out on Wednesday though, since I have a channel update coming out tomorrow. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll leave your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye guys, and stay safe.